I swear the whole hallway shook. Fists pounding my door, his voice ripping through the walls, shouting my name like I'd stolen something from him. But that's not where the story starts.
No.
Moments like that never begin loud. They begin with something small, quiet, almost forgettable. Like a text message. Ellie stood behind me in her little snowflake pajamas, clutching the Christmas drawing she'd worked all week on. Her eyes were big and unsure, the kind of look kids get when the world stops matching the version you promised them. And still, this moment didn't start here either. It started days earlier, with a single line that landed in my phone like a punch. "We're skipping your kid's birthday. Things are tight." No explanation. No apology. Just a casual dismissal sent by the woman who raised me. But let me rewind before the shouting, before the fists, before the truth my family never expected me to uncover. My name is Scarlett. Tell me where you're listening from so I know I'm not talking into the dark alone. For most of my life, I've survived by lowering my expectations, shoving them down so far they dissolve before they can hurt me. Especially with my parents. You grow up being the fixer, the reliable one, the never complains, always shows up child, and disappointment becomes part of breakfast, right next to the burnt coffee your dad used to drink. I live near the coast now, in a tiny apartment that smells like salt water and old pine when the windows are open. Nothing fancy, just warm, bright, and mine. A soft landing place for me and Ellie, who fills every corner with glitter, doodles, and that humming sound she makes when she's happy. It's the kind of humming that could make a grocery store aisle feel like a safe place. The morning that text came, Ellie was coloring a unicorn wearing a crooked crown. She looked up at me with those hopeful eyes, my eyes, but softer, less bruised by life, and asked if Grandma and Grandpa were coming to her birthday this year. "I hope so," I'd said, because hope is cheaper than truth. The phone buzzed while I was slicing strawberries for her lunch. That message blinked back at me. Cold, blunt, thrown at me like a receipt. "We're skipping your kid's birthday. Things are tight." I stared at it so long the knife warmed in my hand. Then I typed back the lie every adult child learns to survive with. No problem. It was a problem. For Ellie, for me, for the kid inside me, who still wanted her parents to try. The rest of that day, I played it off. I glued glitter to Ellie's drawing. I answered deadlines. I ignored the pinch in my chest. I tried to rationalize. Maybe money's tight. Maybe something came up, until I remembered the years I paid their phone bill, the insurance, the emergency cash, the last-minute rescues disguised as family loyalty. Loyalty in my family was a one-way street with my bank account at the end of it. Then came Ellie's birthday. It rained hard, wind slanting against the windows like icy fingers. She wore her little purple dress and asked for homemade cupcakes instead of a store-bought cake. So I laid out a picnic blanket in the living room, turned up her favorite songs, lit candles on the windowsill, and pretended the storm outside wasn't matching the one inside me. 2 of her school friends came. We laughed. We danced. We made it good. We made it enough. But after the noise faded, after the gifts were opened and the kids were picked up, Ellie walked to the table, picked up a single pink cupcake, and stared at the candle I'd saved just for her. "Maybe next year," she whispered. She didn't cry. Kids get heartbreak quietly, like they're scared it'll make you fall apart if they say it too loud. She swept up the glitter. She hummed again, but something inside me cracked. Not anger. Not yet. Just an ache. A familiar one, the kind you don't want to recognize because you've known it your whole life. And that ache, that soft, quiet, ignored ache, is what led to the fists at my door on Christmas. And to the truth my family never expected me to find. Ellie's whisper still haunts me. They forgot me again, didn't they? Funny how a child can say something so soft it slices deeper than a scream. But let me pull you somewhere else first. Somewhere brighter. Because that's how heartbreak works. It doesn't hit straight on. It circles, waits, hides in moments that should have been warm. Picture this. A red pair of Christmas pajamas, worn thin at the sleeves. Ellie spinning in them that morning, humming Disney songs under her breath, holding a drawing she'd spent all week making, Two grandparents and a little girl between them, hands linked, a tiny heart floating above their heads. She taped paper countdown rings around her wrist, like little bracelets. Took them off one by one. Never said it, but she was preparing herself. Kids do that. Quietly. Meanwhile, I pretended I wasn't checking my phone every 5 minutes. Pretended I wasn't expecting something that, deep down, I knew wasn't coming. Noon slipped by. 2, 3. Silence. The kind I grew up on. Thick, stale, familiar. Maybe they're busy, I said. The lie tasted like old pennies. Ellie nodded, but her shoulders fell the way a child's do when they're trying not to look disappointed. She wandered off to watch a movie, still humming, still holding on to a version of the world I wished I could give her. I should have left it alone. I should have shut the laptop and walked away. But old habits, they hold on like vines. The screen lit up, and there it was. A Christmas tree so tall it practically scraped their ceiling. Gifts piled like they were shooting a holiday catalog. Balloon arches twisting like candy canes over the doorway. My sister's kids tearing into presents, wrapping paper flying. Everyone laughing like joy was cheap and endless. My mom in the background, holding a glitter-covered box, smiling like she'd been waiting her whole life for this picture. And the caption, floating above everything like a slap. So blessed to be with our favorite little ones. Favorite. They didn't even try to hide it. I didn't hear Ellie walk up, but I felt her hand, small, warm, trusting on my arm. She saw everything. The balloons. The tree. The cousins wrapped in joy she wasn't invited into. Her face went still. Too still for a 7-year-old. Then she whispered the truth I'd tried so hard to shield her from. They forgot me again, didn't they? My throat locked. I pulled her close, but she stayed quiet, staring at the screen like it was proof of something she'd suspected for a long time. The rest of the day, I moved through the apartment in slow motion. Reheating dinner I didn't taste. Folding blankets that didn't need folding. Answering emails with hands that couldn't stop shaking. Ellie sat at the kitchen table painting, gold and navy swirling together until the colors blurred, her little fists tightening every time she glanced at the window. She didn't cry. That's the part that shattered me. Later that night, after she finally fell asleep beside me on the couch, painting still clutched in her hand, I sat in the dim hallway, staring at nothing and everything. The quiet wasn't peaceful. It pressed against my ribs like a reminder. Every bill I'd paid. Every late-night rescue. Every time I put myself last because family needs you. Every moment I swallowed disappointment so deep it tasted like part of me. For what? A skipped birthday? A silent Christmas? A daughter who now understood that love, at least the kind we'd been given, could be painfully lopsided? That's when something in me didn't just crack. It aligned, like a spine straightening after years of slumping. The morning after Christmas, I woke with clarity, quiet, steady, and sharp as December air. The apartment was still. The kind of stillness that settles after a long night of pretending. Ellie was curled on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, holding the gold and navy painting to her chest like it was a shield. I tucked another blanket around her, smoothed her hair, and let everything, years of everything, settle heavy in my chest. Then I turned on my laptop. Not for work. Not for distraction. For answers. For truth. For the thing my parents never expected me to uncover. The truth is, liberation doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like a quiet click. But before we get to the clicking, before the chain reaction that blew the hinges off my family's expectations, let me take you somewhere else, back to the moment everything should have hurt, but instead felt like breathing for the first time. Ellie had fallen asleep the night before with her gold and navy painting tucked against her chest. I watched her for a long minute, her small shoulders rising and falling, the soft glow of the lamp painting tiny shadows on her cheeks. Kids don't know it, but sometimes they're the thing that saves you from yourself. The next morning, with the apartment still wrapped in that heavy holiday silence, I opened my laptop. Not to scroll. Not to make excuses. Not to keep pretending my family deserved the place they took up in my life. The payments tab loaded like a confession. Automatic transfers.
Years of them.
Every emergency, that became routine. Every time I kept them afloat, even when I was drowning a little. Every phone bill I covered when Dad lost another job. Every insurance payment. Every membership. Every patch I slapped over the holes in their lives. A whole financial map of my exhaustion. My hand hovered. Not from fear. Those days were gone. From clarity. Then I clicked. Cancel. Then another. Cancel. Then another. Cancel. No trembling hands. No dramatic music swelling in the background. Just a quiet, steady exhale that didn't feel like it belonged to the old version of me. By sunrise, everything they depended on me for was disconnected. Not out of revenge. Not out of spite. Out of protection. For me. For Ellie. For the 7-year-old girl who loved them with her entire heart and got silence in return. Around mid-morning, my phone buzzed. Not my parents, because of course not. Marissa. Scarlett. Dad's losing it. Mom's crying. Everything got shut off. Did you do something? Her voice wasn't mad. It was tired. The kind of tired that comes from living under the same roof of expectations and uneven love. I'm just done, I said. A long pause. Then she whispered a soft, relieved.
Good.
The strangest peace followed. I cleaned the kitchen. Washed Ellie's forgotten paintbrushes. Folded laundry. Ordinary things. But every movement felt lighter, like I was finally living in a home that belonged to us, not to obligations I never signed up for. That evening, Ellie stacked her new books on the shelf and leaned into my side. I like when it's just us, she said. No mention of my parents. No wondering why they never called. Just contentment. It hit me then. This quiet life, this tiny apartment filled with humming and glitter and paper rings, was exactly what she deserved. But storms always know when you've stopped bracing for them. And mine arrived at 9 a.m. the next morning.
Sharp.
Violent. Pounding against my front door so hard the frame rattled. Ellie gasped, cereal sloshing in her bowl. I pulled her behind me gently, steady but bracing. Because I already knew who it was. I felt it in my bones. Scarlett. Open this door.
Now.
Howard's voice boomed through the hallway, loud, angry, claiming space like he had every right to it. A neighbor cracked their door open for a second, then closed it fast, the way people do when they don't want to get involved in a family mess. I took a slow breath and unlocked my door, opening it only an inch. His face filled the gap, red, wild, twisted with a kind of rage that comes only when a man realizes something he thought he owned has slipped out of his grip. What did you do? He spat. The phone's dead. The insurance is gone. Even the damn membership. You think this is funny? Behind him, Linda clutched her purse like it was a shield. Her eyes flicked between us, full of panic and something like embarrassment. And standing slightly off to the side were Valerie and Tessa, my aunt and cousin, arms crossed, ready to judge without knowing a single detail. I didn't flinch. Everything I paid for, I said quietly, I stopped paying for. Howard shoved the door wider. I blocked it with my foot. His eyes darted past me and landed on Ellie, peeking from the hallway. You're dragging her into this, he snapped. But he had no idea. This time, she wasn't the one being dragged. People tell you that betrayal has a sound. They're wrong. It hits you in the silence, the kind that drops right after someone lies to your face. But before that silence swallowed the hallway, before my father's voice cracked and the truth shattered at our feet, rewind for a second, back to Ellie stepping out from behind me, all courage and heartbreak stitched into a 7-year-old frame.
They forgot me, she said.
Quiet.
Clear.
A sentence that rearranged the air. Even Howard, blustering, red-faced, ready to accuse the whole world, looked away like her voice was too honest for him to handle. Then he scoffed, choosing cowardice over accountability. Kids don't understand these things. Adults have responsibilities. Responsibilities. I could have laughed. I didn't. Instead, I let the word hang, thick and heavy, like smoke in a room nobody bothered to air out. Exactly, I said. And for years, I covered yours. His anger twitched, jaw tightening, nostrils flaring, because the truth always looks ugly on someone who's spent their life outrunning it. "What the hell are you talking about?" he barked. But I didn't back down. Not this time. Not ever again. I stepped fully into the doorway, not to let him in, but to make sure he saw every inch of the woman he underestimated. The phone plans, the insurance, the repairs, the emergency money, every bill you couldn't pay, every crisis you dumped in my lap. Every time you needed something, you called me, and I paid it without question. Linda winced like the truth burned. Valerie crossed her arms tighter. Tessa muttered something under her breath, but none of them stepped forward. Not one. "Everyone helps their parents," Valerie snapped. "Yeah." I cut in softly. "And when Ellie needed you, when she stood at that window on her 7th birthday, waiting for you to show up, when she made that Christmas drawing and sat in her pajamas hoping you'd knock, what did you give her? No yelling, no theatrics, just a mother stating facts that should have broken them. You gave her nothing." Howard's jaw clenched. "We were busy." "Yes," I said. "Busy celebrating Marissa's kids. Busy posting about your favorite little ones. Busy making my daughter feel invisible." Linda finally spoke, voice trembling. "We didn't mean." "You never mean it," I said, not unkindly. "But you do it anyway." His anger surged again, reaching for the one argument he thought he could control. "None of this explains why you shut off everything without warning."
Ah.
There it was. The real crisis. Not his choices. Not the harm. Not the silence he forced on a child. His panic was about the utilities. I tilted my head. "That's not the part keeping you up at night, is it?" His eyes narrowed. "What are you implying?" I walked back inside, slow, calm, grabbed the printed packet from the entry table, and returned to the door. I didn't hand it to him. I didn't need to. His eyes dropped to the header, and the color drained from his face. "Loan application," I said. "In my name. Your address. Your phone number." Linda gasped loud enough for the neighbor to hear through the wall. Valerie's eyes went wide. Tessa whispered, "Oh my God." Howard stammered, stepping backward like the paper had teeth. That was a misunderstanding. As simple. "You forged my signature," I said, "and you took nearly $8,000. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Like a fish pulled out of water and realizing too late that oxygen isn't guaranteed. You didn't need it as much as we did," he muttered. Those words, those exact words, sucked the warmth right out of the hallway. Ellie pressed her shoulder into my leg. I rested my hand on her head. "You stole from your own daughter," I said quietly. "And you justified it because you thought I wouldn't fight back." Howard lunged, not at me, but at the papers, desperate to reclaim control. But I pulled them back effortlessly. He wasn't fast enough. He never was when responsibility required speed. "You listen to me," he snarled. "If you file anything." "I already did," I said. Silence. Instant. Total. It dropped so heavy the air itself thickened. "I filed a report yesterday morning." I continued. "I attached the documents. The handwriting samples. The transfers. Everything." Linda covered her mouth. Valerie whispered something like a prayer. Tessa took a step back like the floor had tilted beneath her. Howard stared at me, not defeated, but stunned. Shocked that the person he counted on to stay small had finally stood her full height. "You wouldn't," he said. But it wasn't a threat. It wasn't anger. It was a plea. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Not when every lie he ever told was finally collapsing right there on my doorstep. "But let me take you somewhere else first." To the moment Ellie whispered, "Mom, can we close the door?" Her fingers were trembling, barely holding onto my sleeve, her eyes shining in that way kids do when they're trying to be brave for you. Now jump back to Howard's face when he read the loan document. The moment he realized he didn't know me anymore. It's funny how someone can look like a giant your whole life, until the day they shrink under the weight of their own choices. He tried to steady himself, voice cracking. "You wouldn't." But it wasn't a threat when I answered. It was a truth I had swallowed for years finally coming up clean. I would do anything to protect my daughter. Even from you. For a second, nobody moved. Not Valerie with her judgmental arms crossed like she was guarding the gates of heaven. Not Tessa pretending she didn't post half the family's drama online. Not Linda clutching her pearl necklace like it was an oxygen tank. Howard blinked first. He always blinked first. Ellie pulled gently at my sweater again, grounding me back into the moment. Mom, the door? I met his eyes, calm, level, unshakable in a way I wish I'd learned 10 years sooner. And then I closed the door. He didn't try to stop it. He didn't even reach. Because for the first time, he knew he had no right to. The silence afterward.
God.
It wasn't quiet. It was clean. Like a room finally aired out after years of suffocating. Inside our apartment, Ellie's little hand stayed wrapped in my sweater hem, like she thought I might disappear if she let go. I scooped her up, locked the door, and, for the first time in my entire adult life, the lock clicked for us, not against someone else. Weeks tumbled in different directions. Not forward. Not backward. Just free. My parents didn't show up again. No apologies. No last-minute attempts to rewrite history. Nothing but silence and the occasional cousin texting me passive-aggressive quotes about family unity, which stopped once I ignored them long enough. Valerie posted cryptic Facebook statuses about disrespectful daughters. Tessa quietly deleted comments when people started asking what exactly I had done wrong. Marissa, sweet, soft-spoken Marissa, came over with groceries one night. She didn't defend him.
Didn't sugarcoat it.
Just said, he tried something similar with me a few years back.
Honest.
Not comforting, but honest. Meanwhile, something shifted inside our home. Ellie started painting again, real colors this time. Big, bold strokes. Purples bright as candy wrappers. Greens like summer parks. Her teacher pulled me aside and said she had a gift. I believed her. I'd seen it long before anyone else bothered to. I got a raise at work. A real one. Money, title, respect. The kind that isn't tied to guilt or helping out for the family. The apartment felt different too. Lighter. As if someone finally opened a window in a room that used to smell like obligation. We weren't missing anything. We were finally yes. And then winter rolled back around, soft and slow, the way good seasons do when you're not watching the calendar in fear. One evening, while decorating our tiny living room tree, Ellie pulled out a little gold unicorn ornament she'd saved her allowance for. She hung it so carefully, like she was placing a star in the sky. Do you like it, Mom? I didn't even have to think. I love it. Because in that warm, glowing room, it hit me with absolute clarity. Family isn't blood. It's consistency. It's protection. It's love without conditions or excuses. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is walk away from the people who refuse to offer any of that. We didn't lose anything. We gained peace. We gained direction. We gained freedom. We gained us. If you've ever had to choose your peace over someone else's chaos, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. You're not the only one who's had to close a door. And if this hit home, like, share, and subscribe. You don't want to miss what happens in the next chapter.